Hi, Ms. Gil Richmond, and welcome to the 2024 Pennsylvania Budget Olympics. I'm coming to you from the icy slopes of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as Children First evaluates Governor Shapiro's budget proposal. As someone who has long championed opportunities for Pennsylvania's children, I'm eager to see what Governor Shapiro's plan has in store for children and teens. We want to see a solid landing on education funding, health care for all children, and solving the child care crisis. As someone who has personally been to 5 Olympic Games, I know the agony of defeat when an athlete misses the mark. We're looking for the thrill of victory, that all kids come out ahead in the 2025 budget so they can be winners in life. And now, let's go to the studio, where Donna Cooper and Dan O'Brien are kicking off the judging.
Welcome. We're so happy you're here with us this afternoon to hear about the Budget Olympics. Today, Governor Shapiro released his budget proposal with a address in the rotunda that happened this afternoon. Kind of unusual for the governor to deliver his address in the rotunda. Typically, that's done in the House chambers and the Senate comes over. But all these members were gathered on the floor, and that's kind of unusual. And Dan, what are you doing in this raincoat?
Oh, I heard there's a leaky roof problem in Harrisburg in the capital. So, I'm in the city. I didn't know it was going to be a leaky roof here. You never can be too safe.
Never can be too safe. But they managed to get this done today. I think you're okay.
I'm safe.
I take the hood off right now. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we got that under control. And thanks to Speaker McClinton for figuring out how to get that address done today, because the governor certainly delivered a sweeping agenda that we want to tell you about this evening. Now, when you think about this agenda, I want you to keep something in your mind. The Commonwealth, according to the governor today, said has a $14 billion state surplus, and that's with a B. And Governor Shapiro made a pretty strong statement when he said, people don't give us their tax dollars and expect us to sit on it and not do anything and just keep it in the bank. And he said, I'm not going to take any more of your tax dollars. I'm not going to increase taxes. But people expect us to do something with the money they've given us. And so today's budget, the governor proposed a budget that had about $3.7 billion more in spending. And it sounds like a lot. Our total budget's about 46 billion. So it's less than a 10% increase in the state budget. Not something that is outlandish.
Right.
It's fiscally sound, and we've had inflation. So, but you also, what's amazing about this budget proposal, and a first for Children First, is that the budget proposal has more than 50% of the funds being proposed for children. So $2 billion of what the governor put on the table today as new state investments were for kids. And I think that's really nonpartisan organization. Republican governor, Democratic governor, we're here to evaluate how the governor did when it comes to investing in children. And I would say this governor is making his way to a gold. So we're here tonight and we want to learn more about that. But I just want everybody to keep in mind, more than 50% of what was proposed today is going to benefit children. Now, this is just the beginning of the competition, because Josh Shapiro makes a budget address, he puts his proposal on the table, and then we have to fight like heck, because we don't curse.
Right.
We have to fight like heck to get that passed, together with him and every lawmaker that wants to stand up for kids. Now, we want you to know a little bit more about this so that you can decide if you're going to stand up with us. We hope you will. And tonight we're going to walk through how each of the teams performed in today's budget Olympics. So right now we have Priyanka Reyes Forrest joining us. She's the coach of the education. You have an awful lot of expertise. You started out your life as a teacher, and now you're an education policy guru, and you're coaching our education team. So how did the governor do today in terms of putting forward what the education team needs and what kids need in the budget?
He did great, and I won't even hesitate to say I believe he got a gold this year.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, he really did a lot for kids and for public schools this year, and he certainly met the mark. on public school funding. So Governor Shapiro's proposal includes over $1 billion in new state funding for schools, which is more than twice the amount that he put in the budget last year.
Wow, so doubled his performance in 1 year.
That's a great performance. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really improved, most improved probably.
Most improved, okay, good.
Certainly, in every school district, whether it's rural, urban, or suburban, will benefit from the increased funding that he put in his formula. And in addition to that, the bulk of the new funding, $872 million of the new funds are earmarked for adequacy and equity in response to last year's fair funding trial. It's been almost a year since the state court said that our school funding system is unconstitutional. So it's really wonderful to see Governor Shapiro putting such a huge investment into our schools in response to that.
You know, it's sort of like the gunshot went off on February 7th last year, the race to solve the school funding crisis, because that's the day that the court, just made the decision. And here we are. So what do you think of
I
that?
mean, that's tomorrow. That's incredible timing. I mean, that's again, right on the mark. It's a great performance by the governor. By the way, join us tomorrow on the Capitol steps. We'll be rallying for public school education.
Oh, excellent. That starts the round.
Well, the fight doesn't stop. Just
Yeah.
because of today.
Oh, there you go. So win 1 year, let's go.
That's right, and that's not all. There's even more stellar performance that the governor revealed today. One of which is a fantastic performance on school facilities. $300 million of additional funding to fix our crumbling school buildings. And there's more, we have to think about the whole team when we think about educating our kids. And the governor did that. He invested a lot of funds to solve our teacher shortage, including $10 million for teacher recruitment and $15 million for new teacher stipends.
That's incredible. I mean, I used to be a former teacher as well. There were just so many great prospect teachers who were just left on the sidelines because they couldn't afford to do the student teaching portion of the education. So that's a really an investment in our kids. At the end of the day.
They couldn't get in the game.
They couldn't get in the game.
Yeah. And in addition, the idea that we are, the governor, I think, said we were training like more than 10,000 teachers a couple of years ago, and now we're training only like 5,000. Our team has been cut in half. Our athletes that train our children. And so just knowing that we're putting money on the table for that's terrific. What else?
Well,
You're on a roll.
A lot of
Yeah,
great stuff. A lot of great stuff.
a lot of wonderful things for schools. So there's also a special injection that the governor mentioned of $262 million.
Did you say injection?
Yeah, a special injection.
Don't people get banned from the Olympics for injections?
Sometimes, but in this case, it's actually good for schools
Okay.
because different type of
Okay.
injection. This one is new funds that can come from savings on cyber charter tuition. So the governor is proposing that instead of paying different amounts of funding for cyber schools based on what school district a child lives in, let's standardize the cost at $8,000 per student. That'll save us hundreds of millions of dollars to go to our public schools.
Yeah, he actually stood on the Capitol steps and kind of did a lesson, and he explained to the lawmakers, one school district in this place could be spending $7,800, and another school district in this place could be spending $14,000, and it doesn't make sense since they're offering the same education.
Yeah, it's been a bipartisan issue. I know Representative Joe Cerisi will be happy about this. Senator Tracy Pennycook have been advocates for this. This just seems like it just makes sense for everybody.
Oh, good for the team.
Right.
So, wow, you got more.
I got more. Usually when we, at Children First, we think about K-12 education, but Governor Shapiro is thinking about the whole team, and he's thinking about every leg of the relay. So a lot of students, as we know, after high school, they choose to go to college or university. And Governor Shapiro's plan today makes that way more accessible for students. He is putting out a transformative plan for higher education. It would invest in our public universities and colleges at a rate of about $2.2 billion over 5 years. And it would do that by making the governance structure of these colleges and universities under one umbrella instead of all being run separately. So that's great for the system, and it's really great for students. He also included a plan to make college more affordable. So if you're a family whose income is $70,000 or less, college tuition will be capped at about $1,000 per semester.
Wow. Wow. That's a total game changer. Yeah. And I think it's like an unprecedented move.
It is, so he's kind of leading on this
Yeah.
effort, which is great to see Pennsylvania leading a little bit.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're gonna take like Millersville and Kutztown and Westchester, and put them under one umbrella with the community colleges.
Right.
That way you can transfer more easily, like start out at a community college, go to a four-year, everything transfers. And it also sounds like Penn State, Pitt, and Temple and Lincoln will get more certainty in their resources. So it's like, where most kids go to college in Pennsylvania, like you said.
We
it's
are
game-changing.
Penn State.
Right.
We are Penn State.
Couldn't help myself, sorry.
Well, okay, you said the governor's going for a gold. Is there anything that would like not get him a perfect score?
Well, there are a couple things missing. One of which is, the governor did not include a clear statement about his transformative school funding, investment, that it would be the first in a 7-year plan. The amount of funding that he put out, over $1 billion, is incredible. We just need to hear a commitment, that funding will continue over 7 years. That's what's really needed to solve the unconstitutional public school funding problem right now.
Right, because the court said you have to figure out how much short you are.
Right.
And the Basic Education Funding Commission said 5.4 billion is needed.
Mhm,
So he put like $1 billion of that on the table,
mhm.
and we need certainty on the rest, and we need it now, or people are gonna have to go back to court. Right.
So governor's gonna have to work with the other players on the team, the other lawmakers, to make sure that that gets codified into language.
Okay, we gotta help make sure that happens. Otherwise, we're gonna, we can't really see this as the masterful performance that we all want, right?
Yes, but we are rooting for him, and I think it can
Okay,
happen.
good. So was there any other, like, reason you wouldn't get a perfect score?
There's one more place where he didn't quite stick the landing, and that's on career and technical education. Surprising, since our governor is so focused on improving our workforce. But his investments in CTE, career technical education, were below the inflation rate. So that means that not a single additional student would be able to enroll in career technical ed next year.
Oh, well, we gotta up that game.
That's right.
We gotta build that part of the team much stronger. So that'll be on our docket for next year too.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, how would you, if you had to give the governor a score, what do you think your score would be? Let's score the governor here, because we are at the Olympics and we need to be really clear. So what's your score as the expert coach?
Absolutely. I would give the governor a score of 9.0.
Oh, where
I'm
are
gonna
you?
give it a 9.2, it's a pretty big improvement.
It's a huge improvement. I'm going for a 9.2.
Right, okay, never mind.
9.2, so looks like the governor won a gold. Very much. Now, it sounds like the governor really changed his routine from last year to this year and really upped his game when it comes to K-12. It was a good year last year, but this year seems like it definitely showed the results of a new workout regime.
Yeah.
So now we're going to turn to another important issue, and it's one around healthcare. And, kids can't get a good start in life unless they have decent healthcare all the way through.
It's a critical investment, and obviously health is important to the governor. He was able to, he must be healthy. He was able to stand up there and give a thrilling performance for 90 minutes in the Capitol today. So it takes a lot of energy. So I'm curious to hear from our experts.
And he never got out of breath.
It was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to introduce Rosemary Hall and Diana Williams, and both of them are coaches to the Children First Health Team. Thank you for being here. And Diana Williams, our brand new health policy director. So terrific that you're here. Let's kick off, like what worked well for healthcare for kids today?
There's some good positive performances by the governor in healthcare. I really like the $18 million investment in CHIP, with the children's health insurance, which started in Pennsylvania. And so I think that was a really positive, that allows about 27,000 more kids to get CHIP, which is huge. The bad part of that, of his performance in this area, was that 174,000 children in Pennsylvania still lack health insurance. So we really need to address that. The continuous coverage for children.
Wait, hold the phone.
Sure.
So how many kids are gonna be on CHIP once this money goes through?
About 185,000 children.
And how many kids are still uninsured?
174,000.
Wow, half of the team is left behind.
That's right. There's a lot of children that are left
Yeah,
behind. in
yeah,
Pennsylvania.
okay, we got work to do. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely. I mean, about the fifth, we're about the fifth in states in behind in health insurance for children.
We're the 5th highest rated uninsured children in the country. That's good. Gotta improve the team. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then, you know, we're looking at Medicaid, so there were some promising performances there. The 0 to 6 continuous coverage for children, which means that children, once they get on Medicaid, can't be kicked off until they're 6 years old, and then they have meet those other requirements. But that's a positive thing for children, especially coming out of COVID. You know, it's really important for children.
Yeah, why would they have ever been kicked off before?
Well, the Medicaid rules and unwinding and all those processes happened post-COVID. There was lots of issues around children staying on that, you know, maybe their mom or dad were no longer on Medicaid, and then they, you know, by accident or whatever, got kicked off. And now it says the child stays on once they're eligible.
Seems like a good policy,
It's actually
right?
a great policy.
I mean, kids can't control what their parents do, but at the very least, they ought to be able to, we all should know every child up to 6 can go to the doctor, right?
Yes, that's so important for health. And, you know, you're never going to have athletes if they don't have health.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, so, and then we move to lead. So
Mm.
lead poisoning is, you know, such an important issue. Most children are poisoned by lead in their homes. And in Pennsylvania, we only have about 20% of the kids actually get screened for lead.
Mm.
So we're really looking for some investment in that. We didn't really see any investment in increasing screening. We didn't see investment in education programs for lead, and then we're missing investment in Pennsylvania's further investment in working on getting homes remediated to make them lead safe.
Sounds like a stumble on that one.
Yeah, it didn't hit the mark for sure.
Mm. Okay, all right, thank you. So more on lead, what, like, you know, this Olympic, performance has to go beyond physical healthcare, right?
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Yeah, Governor Shapiro last year proposed and went through 100 million for mental health, for school-based mental health services. And he's really coming in with one this year. Same funding, hasn't really improved the performance at all. We're still sticking at 100 million. And even with knowing that children are really having mental health issues across the whole country, I really thought he could up his numbers there.
You would say it's a missed shot. I mean, if the problem's increasing, then we obviously need to increase the investments.
Definitely. Now, there is an area that might be available for improvement, that if he's really looking to go for the gold with this, there are the 10 million in investment in the 988 crisis line, as well as an additional 5 million in investment in crisis or walk-in centers. And the only thing with those services is they're not specific to children. So we don't know how well children would be able to utilize that service. So we're really hoping that he can make those connections between the mental health services and even education, and that's really important to our children's success, and maybe important to him actually getting a gold in this category.
Sounds like we might need something as transformative as the reforms in higher ed when it comes to meeting the mental health needs of children.
Absolutely. I'd love to be able to see those scores just as high as education, both for mental health and just for healthcare policy in general.
Wow.
Well, I know this has been a bipartisan issue where Republicans and Democrats have both talked about investing in mental health. So maybe they can help push the governor to that goal.
Oh, well, that would be great. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, how would you score the governor's performance in terms of healthcare? What would your score be?
6.5.
6.5. All right, I'm a little lower from what you're saying, 6.3, and I'm a little tougher judge, I think. I'm at 5.1. So that sounds like the governor's winning a bronze medal when it gets on the podium, but it's a bronze. Thank you very much. Very, very, very good to have you. And you know, the governor, when he did the address today, he said, let's start with kids.
Right.
Start with kids. And, you know, we agree with that. Children first is our motto. So we're very happy to have us think about kids. And some of the kids that he didn't talk about were kids that were caught up in the juvenile justice system. So we have the coach of our juvenile justice and child welfare team, Stephanie Arbutina, here with us this evening. Thank you for being here. And this is an area where we're interested in because we know you know a lot about the kids who have been arrested and might be put in secure facilities. Like, you know, they're lost futures and they could be great members of our team, but they're getting shut out. What did you hear today? Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You know, for starters, I will say that Governor Shapiro delivered a solid performance around violence prevention with a $60 million increase to the violence intervention and prevention programs. You know, Pennsylvania's kids deserve to grow up in safe communities. We're really looking forward to the continued positive impact those programs will have.
That's great news.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. You know, he also showed us that all his off-season training is paid off. He added a new $11.5 million investment in youth development through the Boost out of school time program. Kids need activities that promote their academic, social, and emotional development, and extra out of school time opportunities will do just that.
And it keep kids out of trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, this part of his routine where these kids come into play included one major misstep. There was an over $49 million increase in funding to youth persons.
Whoa, what's a youth prison?
I mean, basically, when a young person has a behavior that is against the law, they go through adjudication. It's the other word for trial. And if a judge orders them into a facility as their sentence, that is what that is. It might be run by the state or it might be run by a private entity. So that's almost $50 million.
To lock up more kids.
That's correct. And we know that that doesn't work. We know that there's kids in Pennsylvania that are in those facilities for misdemeanors or for a first offense. We know it doesn't help them, and actually it doesn't make communities safer. So
Do they estimate locking up more kids?
that's what it looks like. It looks like they're anticipating additional kids in those placements.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. I mean, Children First, we know that all kids are great kids. They just need that guidance and us to invest in them. So that's kind of a disappointing performance there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, if all the kids who could be served in their communities were served there, we might not need that kind of capacity in these kind of facilities.
Well, and also, I mean, the opportunity to give kids more after-school programs and more enrichment and better schools is gonna mean there's less like need for these kinds of services, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe part of the budget helps, but planning to put more kids in detention seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. We wish there was another solution there.
What else did the governor have to say or do around juvenile justice?
Yeah, well, I will say that Governor Shapiro recovered a little bit on the landing there by including $545,000 for much needed oversight of educational programs for the kids served by these facilities, or for kids that are served in facilities that are in the foster care system. You know, that's some much needed additional monitoring to help ensure that those kids served by the child welfare and juvenile justice system get that quality education that they so deserve.
Yeah, we've heard horror stories about kids going into these facilities and not learning anything. We've heard horror stories about kids going in these facilities and getting beat up. So clearly more oversight is needed. So that's one good move, right?
Yeah.
It's small, but it's a good move.
Right, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So like, what do you think? How would you rate the governor's performance on tackling juvenile justice?
You know, I'd say if the administration wants to secure a medal in this event, they need to embrace comprehensive juvenile justice reform and support the over 15,000 Pennsylvania kids who encounter the juvenile justice system. So they can be full winning members of Team Pennsylvania. And so right now, I'm gonna score the governor's budget at 3 points.
Oh, wow. Sounds like he doesn't place on the podium. What do you got? You
I
got
got
four
I
point
heard
one.
too much negative to where I think he double faulted in this competition.
Oh.
4.1.
Yeah, and I actually don't have a number, so I'm gonna just say that, I go along with this. From what you're saying, we don't put him on the podium.
I think with those comprehensive reforms, we could get there.
He could get there.
Okay, there's hope, there's hope.
Yeah,
Great,
great.
great.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Wow. Here's an area where Josh Shapiro didn't get on the podium. It's an area we need to work on for sure. And by not being on the podium in this one, I feel like we're not making enough of a contribution to keeping our community safe. The more we invest in kids, especially in the JJ world, the more we're gonna save communities. And that's what we call a masterful performance, right?
Right, if you want to invest in a program like the Olympic team does, you're
Yeah.
gonna invest in all sports,
Yeah.
make sure that we're performing
Right.
at the top of all.
Now, I want to invite a guest coach to come up here, Kim Early, and Kim is a guest coach from the Great Pennsylvania Association for the Education of Young Children. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Fran.
Now, Kim, I did our conversation because what I observed and what I've heard is that when it comes to early childhood education,
sounds like the governor is skating on thin ice. So you tell us, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. He didn't necessarily shine like gold on pre-K. He proposed a $33 million increase for state-funded pre-K programs. That's $30 million for pre-K counts and $2.7 million for Head Start supplemental assistance. That's gonna go to increase rates for those programs, and they'll go to hire great teachers and begin to open the pre-K classrooms that have been closed. So he delivered a solid performance there, but it's a little bit of a remix.
Kim, how many kids are not in pre-K?
87,000.
Oh,
87,000 3 or 4 and 4-year-olds across the state. So these new investments will help to make sure that we can get those teachers and attract them back to the field that they, left. And when we do, we need to refocus our efforts to make sure we can serve those 87,000. The governor will need to do much more here in the future if he wants to smoke the competition in our neighboring states.
Oh, wow. So they're doing better than we are.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
a real competition.
Yeah, there's no better investment than in our kids at an early age, and the incredible work that our early educators are doing. Really need to have that support from state level.
Yeah. They're the most important coaches.
Yeah, it's a workforce issue, so you gotta support the workforce.
Absolutely. What else happened in early childhood?
So on childcare, there were a boost for the subsidized childcare program, so that goes to increase rates there. We've fallen short, or the increase does fall short in terms of getting folks back into the sector. We are experiencing a severe staffing and historic shortage of childcare teachers, which has been an issue, as many of you have heard. But with the increase, it will raise rates to the 75th percentile. So giving programs a higher reimbursement. That's 75th percentile of what parents pay. So the price that parents pay for childcare. So while that increase will help to alleviate the challenges that providers are having with increased costs for food, facilities, supplies, and things of that nature, we still have the low wages, I guess, will really require us to fill those positions so that we can get the children that are on waiting lists and out, not in childcare right now, back into those classrooms. And he seems to have gotten some bad advice there on childcare.
So you're saying for our smallest citizens, the governor may have came up a little short?
Yeah.
So what's it look like? I mean, how many kids are shut out of the childcare system?
So there's 2,400 vacancies.
Wow.
And we know that there are about 2,600 kids on waiting lists. Now,
That's
that's just
2,600?
26,000,
Oh.
I'm sorry, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 26,000, and that's just from about 700 programs out of the nearly 7,400 programs in Pennsylvania. So it's much larger. But we did hear other states did a much better in terms of having stellar performances in this area. They've recognized the challenge and did invest in increasing rates as well as the recruitment and retention issues in terms so that they can stabilize the sector. So states like Maine and Kentucky, Florida, Nebraska, they've all gotten it much better.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when the Eagles, when Andy Reid left the Eagles, right?
Don't
You know, we
bring that
go, huh?
Don't bring that up again.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah.
those, like, he's going to the Super Bowl, right? Because he's making investments.
Right.
And when people leave to go to another state and they're making investments, the governor even said, some people drive to Ohio to go to work because they have a higher minimum wage. So we got a problem. People are gonna go to Virginia because that governor put $440 million into childcare. People wanna go where there's a winning team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on early intervention, I'll touch on that. We did see some increases there. So for early intervention is a program that serves infants and toddlers and 3 and 4-year-olds. For infants and toddlers that are developing developmental delays, they can get the services that they need either in their home or in their childcare program. But for infants and toddlers, there was an increase of $6.7 million. That will go to increase rates, but that still leaves children on waiting lists, unfortunately. So we don't like to see that. And then for children 3 to 5, there was a $17 million increase. That will go to serve more children, which is good there.
There's waiting lists probably in both programs, right?
Probably, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
we talk to parents all the time who are really eager to find services for their kids. And it's kind of important to start early, right?
I mean, if you don't invest in these kids now, sometimes you'll lose that opportunity for them.
Yeah, or it's gonna cost a lot more.
It'll cost a lot more, you're right.
Yeah. So when you're like grooming a good athlete, it's like, in some countries, they start grooming their athletes in elementary school, right? And so we're losing the capacity of these kids if we don't get them these services early on, yeah.
Early intervention is so.
Wow, wow. Well, listen, it's great to have a coach like you from the Pennsylvania Association of Education for Young Children be with us here tonight to talk about the Budget Olympics and how it seemed today. How would you score the governor on early childhood education?
I'm gonna say a 6.5.
You're good, 6.5.
Oh, I was, okay.
6.5. I'm gonna say a 6.1. Ooh, 5.8.
I'm gonna say 5.8, too much, we need to do a
Oh,
little
sorry.
bit better in our.
And then 5.6.
Oh, you're
Okay.
5.6. I'm 6.1. You're 5.8. Looks like the governor is getting a bronze medal for this one. He got on the podium, but. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here. So as we close out the Budget Olympics, you have any big takeaways? I see these skis behind you. You got anything going?
No, I mean, the skis are just a representation that we have a lot of work to do. We gotta get there fast. We gotta talk with both sides of the aisle, both chambers. We gotta push the governor on some issues, but I really think today, the governor showed that he was the most improved from last year with some of these proposals, but also that he wants to be a champion for kids. And to me, as an advocate, that gives me hope, but it also gives me a drive to keep working.
Well, there was one other policy that the governor really fought hard for today, right? And that was to increase the minimum wage. And probably the most dramatic part of the speech was when the governor spoke about the fact that Pennsylvanians are driving to Ohio for jobs instead of staying here because they pay more. And that's hurting Pennsylvania's economy. And he kept saying to everybody who wasn't clapping, come on, come on.
Right.
He really called out every lawmaker to take Pennsylvania from its minimum wage of $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour, pointing out that every neighboring state has done that, and 30 states now have minimum wages much higher than Pennsylvania. For kids, that's a game changer because it moves their family out of poverty. And that's so critical to their development. And tons of research shows us that the not living in poverty is an ingredient for a lifetime of success, one of the key ingredients. But as we know, in order for the governor to ultimately get the goal, we're all gonna have to work together between now and June 30th to build support from every lawmaker, every Democrat and every Republican behind the great investments that were proposed today and the ones that we've identified that need to get better. Because we need every kid to be on the winning team in Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining Children First and hearing about the budget. Work with us to get the gold for kids.